Well, hello, everybody. I am Professor Mark Osler, University of St. Thomas, and I have the best committee assignment of any professor that I get to chair the Mission Awards Committee. And it is such a joy to review what people have been doing, to receive the nominations, to know what the full nature of this institution is. It really is a happy task. And this is the day that we get to celebrate what happens in our community. And I'd like to briefly open with prayer. Lord, support us in our mission. Root our actions in love for you and for our neighbors, and hear our celebration of things that are good and true. Amen. And for a welcome, I'm going to turn it over to our Dean, Rob Vischer.
Thank you, Mark. The Mission Awards are a celebration, and celebrations are important because they reveal what we value. What we value as a law school has to be tied to place, to the world in which we are situated, to the community to which we've been called. The physical place to which we've been called matters a lot. We are on what was Dakota land until that land was ceded to the United States through the Treaty of 1851. That treaty called for the payment to the Dakota of what amounted to 12 cents per acre. Treaty negotiations were driven by the American Fur Company, which had been providing supplies to the Dakota in exchange for fur. As the lands were overhunted and European demand for fur dropped, the system collapsed and the Dakota were left owing huge debts to American fur. Debt payments, inflated by the company, were taken out of the land proceeds before anything was given to the tribe. Essentially, the fur traders were bailed out by the US government. The US government got 24 million acres of land, and the Dakota got almost nothing. This was all made possible by the strategist behind the arrangements, Henry Sibley, who was a partner and agent of the American Fur Company, the future governor of Minnesota, and a lawyer. If we aspire to the more noble traditions of our profession, and there are plenty of examples of those too, we have to understand history and the role that lawyers have played in almost every aspect of our nation's, our states, and our city's development, for better and for worse. This week, lawyers played central roles in another painful chapter of this place's history, just a few blocks from here at the Hennepin County Courthouse. We're 3 miles from 38th in Chicago, where George Floyd was murdered. There are glimmers of hope today that were not quite so visible before the verdict was announced. It has never been clearer that what we are doing as a law school community can, should, and will have a meaningful impact on the places to which we have been called, now and for generations to come. So welcome, and let's get on with celebrating what we value.
All right, thank you, Dean Vischer. And we are going to start with service award hours. And we have a presentation on that from Christy Botts.
Thank you for allowing me to honor the class of 2021 today. The students on the screen have taken extraordinary efforts to volunteer amazing amounts of time during law school, which is a feat in and of itself, and a pandemic. Thank you all for using your time and talents to engage in law-related activities and to improve access to justice. Our community is better because of you.
All right, so to begin, our first set of awards are for excellence in professional preparation. And for this award, what it focuses on is those who exemplify the following aspects of our law school, that by providing from a faith-based perspective, practical skills and theoretical legal education and mentoring. We have 2 awards in this category, and the first award will be presented by Annie Beckers and Jack Amaral.
Good afternoon. I'm here with my friend and classmate, Jack Amaral, to present this year's Excellence in Professional Preparation Award to Professor Neil Hamilton. Jack and I had Professor Hamilton for 2 classes last fall, and despite the inherent challenges of pandemic learning, Professor Hamilton worked tirelessly to give students everything we needed to succeed. He made creative changes to the coursework to make sure students could engage with the class material and our classmates, even if we were remote. He then took the time to provide thoughtful feedback on all our assignments. His passion for teaching and making connections with students is evident to all of us who've been in his classroom.
In addition to his above and beyond classroom efforts, Professor Hamilton is a gifted coach who spends time with students one-on-one to discuss long-term legal careers. He's always been willing to give career advice, offer recommendations, and connect us with his professional network. But most importantly, students who meet with Professor Hamilton walk away knowing how much he cares about us and our well-being. A fellow classmate said that when she met with Professor Hamilton, he made her feel valued. Given the past year that we've had, making others feel valued has never been more important. We're so lucky he's a part of our community. Congrats, Professor Hamilton, on this well-deserved honor.
Professor Hamilton, would you like to say anything in accepting your award?
Oh, deeply grateful to Annie and to Jack for those kind words. Just one thing, I mean, this feeds off what you said, Mark. The goal is that every student gets the meaningful post-graduation employment that you want. And everybody in the building wants to help you, so use us. That's the key. You please go proactive and use us.
All right. Wonderful, and congratulations. Our next award will be introduced by presenter Dean Fisher.
Thanks. Well, as you all know, our technology team went above and beyond the call of duty in helping the law school navigate the move to remote.
Did we lose Dean Fisher?
Sam, I'm sorry. Yeah, I bumped him. Can you bring him back, Sam?
I'll try.
He's probably not used to getting.
Oh, there we go. I think I got him. I hope. There we go. Sorry, Dean.
The technology team can be bashful. And so I think as soon as I started recognizing them, they shut me down immediately. And I understand that, but we're going to be relentless on this because they deserve it. So as the world was shutting down, as the pandemic took hold last spring, the technology team stepped up in a big way. And early mornings, late nights, running to classrooms, hand-holding for faculty, full-time and adjunct, working with students. They were really unbelievable. So Nikki Catlin, Wendy Biddle, Brian Newman, and Michael Roback were really the point persons on all these efforts. And a lot of what they did was behind the scenes. Everybody faced challenges over these past 3 semesters. And what we were able to do would have been absolutely impossible without their tireless work. So whether they want me to or not, we are recognizing them with an award for excellence in professional preparation. Congratulations.
All right. Would you like to say something in acceptance?
Uh, Thank you, but I think I've lost Nikki now too.
So
This is
a
just
great. This is a great honor. Thank you very much for this, and hopefully Michael will get Nikki back.
okay. Well, thank you very much. And why don't we move ahead to scholarly engagement and societal reform? And we have two winners in this category that is it really at the core of our mission. This recognizes community members who exemplify the following aspect of the mission. And wherein the mission says that the law school will undertake to expand knowledge about law and society and participate in the improvement of legal institutions and other organizations through recruitment and development of a faculty of outstanding teachers and scholars, sponsorship of academic lectures and interdisciplinary research activity, and the establishment of a strong law library collection and staff. We have two winners in this category. The first group of winners will be introduced by Tori Key.
Good afternoon. I have the honor to present the award for scholarly engagement and social reform to a team of students that I've had the privilege to supervise over the last year. John Trow, Sarah Honeymiller, and Sarah Murtada. John and Sarah Honeymiller are both advanced student practitioners in the Community Justice Project, having been part of the clinic in both the fall semester and the current spring semester. Sarah Murtada joined CJP as a first semester student practitioner this semester and joined their team. All three of them have been members of the Knock First Minnesota team, a nonpartisan initiative to ban the use of no-knock warrants in Minnesota through comprehensive legislation, which was created by John last year in response to the horrifying shooting death of Breonna Taylor at the hands of police in Kentucky. The vision for Knock First Minnesota is that every Minnesotan will have the opportunity to answer the door. In the first 6 months of their initiative last year, the team created a change.org petition that gained over 8,000 signatures from community members across Minnesota and nationally. On this petition page, they provided regular updates about their work, stories of tragic no-knock warrant deaths, and information on upcoming legislation and ways that the community can enact change. The team also shares regular updates on their Twitter under the handle @KnockFirstMN. Last semester, John and his teammate Sarah Honeymiller scheduled a series of meetings with nearly every Minneapolis City Council member to discuss the initiative, provide the members with data on the dangers of no-knock warrants, and to advocate for a city ordinance that would ban no-knock warrants in Minneapolis. In November, the city implemented a policy change which provided police with guidance and placed restrictions on the use of no-knock warrants. Although the city policy is a big first step, the team would like to see more done. They are currently working on obtaining data on executed no-knock warrants in Minneapolis and hope to use that data to assist in creating a public database on the information. This semester, the team has expanded their outreach to statewide and have met one-on-one with state legislatures, calling upon them to act on a statewide ban of no-knock warrants. One such legislator that John and Sarah Murtada connected with is Representative Athena Hollins, a 2011 alum. In March, John and Sarah Murtada, alongside 1L Jonathan McClellan of the Minnesota Justice Coalition, testified before the Minnesota House of Representatives in support of a bill that would create such a statewide ban. The Knock First Minnesota team have shown leadership and initiative in their research and advocacy towards public policy solutions that protect the public and ensure police departments act with the public's interests in mind. The team has leveraged the use of technology, storytelling, and creative outreach to engage both policymakers and the public. They have been very firm on remaining nonpartisan, drawing attention to the inherent dangers faced by the community, civilians, and police upon the execution of no-knock warrants. The team continues to work alongside community organizers and advocates to prevent further tragedies at the hands of police. It has been my honor to get to know them, supervise them, and learn from them.
Great. Let's hear from the winners.
There is an inherent awkwardness in accepting an award for work predicated upon the trauma and tragedy of others. I ask you all to recognize no-knock raids as a continuing issue in Minnesota, and also that as you lock the door to your home tonight, you take a moment to remember the lives of Lillian Weiss and Lloyd Smalley, 2 individuals killed during a no-knock raid based upon faulty information in Minneapolis in 1989. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you and congratulations. Our next winner in this category of scholarly engagement and societal reform will be introduced by presenter Colleen Dorsey, who's on mute. There we go.
Thank you so much. Someone had to do it. I'm glad it was me. Thank you so much for this honor to present this award to Rob Kahn. Professor Kahn was already a leading scholar on the subject of mask bans, exploring with nuance the tensions between public norms and individual liberties pertaining to religion, expression, and protest. Over the past year, he has helped shed light on the battles over COVID masking requirements, providing a broader context to help us understand how our political moment fits in with other struggles over anonymity, autonomy, and public safety and health. His research is a stellar example of ways in which legal expertise, combined with sociological and political awareness, contributes to the common good in meaningful ways. Congratulations, Professor Kahn, for this well-earned award.
All right, and Professor Kahn, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I'm very touched by what you said, and I gratefully accept the award. Thanks again.
All right, wonderful. And moving on, our next category is service and community. This award recognizes community members who exemplify this aspect of our mission. The law school will work to establish a diverse community of talented students, faculty, and staff dedicated to supporting and serving one another, the law school's mission, the local, national, and global communities. We have 2 winners in this category, and Carrie Comboy will introduce our first winner.
Hello, it is my profound joy to tell you a little bit about my colleague and friend, Henry Bishop. In a pre-pandemic world, I would see Henry Bishop wandering around the halls of the law school, helping me navigate around. But particularly during the civil uprising this past summer, Henry Bishop was on the front lines of community cleanup in South Minneapolis, community organizing, food distribution, and empowering numerous community organizers. And beyond his direct impact, Henry is constantly working behind the scenes to empower people to find their voice and show up meaningfully within their communities. And this past summer, Henry and I had an encounter, and he perceived that I was really struggling. I was really having a hard time. And when Henry realized that I was having a hard time, he started to call me regularly and just check in and see how I was doing. And as Henry started to call me and become a friend, he started to talk me through the anxiety, but then channel it into protest and self-care and action. And Henry embodies the mission of St. Thomas because he leverages his relational abilities to nurture activists into better versions of themselves. And in the midst of extreme overwhelm, Henry gently and persistently guided me to an understanding that every single person has a role to play in advancing social justice. I am profoundly grateful for the wisdom of Henry's example, and it's such a joy to honor him today.
Oh, wonderful. And Henry, congratulations.
Thank you, Mark, and to everyone on the Mission Award Committee. And thank you very much, Carrie, for those kind words. It means so much to me, and it's an honor to accept this award. Muhammad Ali once said that service to others is the rent you pay for your room on earth. And I am constantly grateful to work in an institution that values and encourages flexibility to allow me to serve in many ways, inside and outside of the school. So thank you very much.
Oh, congratulations and well-deserved. Our second group of winners will be presented by John Dixon.
The second group, excuse me, is a group made up of students here at St. Thomas from the Federal Commutations Clinic, which Professor Osler leads. And in December, this group had an assignment to watch the winter meeting of the Minnesota Board of Pardons, which is made up of the governor, the attorney general, and the chief justice of the Minnesota Supreme Court. At the meeting, a woman named Maria Elizondo presented her case for a pardon. She had fraudulently gotten a job in 2012 to support her family, but the only remaining part of her sentence that was left was paying the government $12,000 in restitution. But Ms. Elizondo had not been able to pay it back because of steep medical bills. And despite being a resident of the United States for 41 years after arriving as a child, she faced deportation because of this outstanding balance. At the meeting, the board made clear that if Ms. Elizondo could pay back the $12,000, they would be willing to grant the pardon and allow her to stay with her 7 children and 14 grandchildren here, including her son, who is serving in the North Dakota National Guard. But also made clear that meeting was how unlikely it would be for the family alone to come up with that much money before Ms. Elizondo was faced with deportation. This group, Zach, Andrea, Catherine, Sam, Madeline, Dahlia, Christina, and Ryan, sprang into action. They reached out to the professor, set up a GoFundMe page, and began reaching out to groups to find ways to help this woman they had never met. Within 3 days, they raised the funds and the Board of Pardons pardoned Ms. Elizondo, allowing her to stay with her family. This was the first full pardon granted in Minnesota in nearly 40 years. This group recognized a situation in which they could support and serve a member of the broader Minnesota community. With an eye towards mercy and a heart full of love, they stepped up where the rubber of their legal clinic education met the road of real life representation. Helping someone they had never met shows the heart of each person in this group, and I'm glad to call them my colleagues here at St. Thomas, and I can't wait to see what they do after they graduate. Well done, and congratulations to Zach, Andrea, Catherine, Sam, Madeline, Dahlia, Christina, and Ryan.
Well, thank you, John. I think we're going to hear from Zach in accepting.
You actually are going to hear from Andrea.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you. On behalf of the Federal Commutations Clinic, we thank you for this honor. First, we would like to thank all who generously gave to Ms. Elizondo's restitution to make her pardon possible. Also, we are grateful to the Pardon Board's willingness to reconsider her case and for granting her a full and complete pardon. It gives us great hope for the future of what clemency in the pardon process can look like in Minnesota. There's a lot of great work still yet to be done, so we are grateful for that. We also would like to dedicate this to thank our clients who we work with every day in the clinic, who with authenticity and incredible courage have shared their stories and their lives with us. They've trusted us with an opportunity for a second chance, which is something that we do not take lightly as law students and as individuals. It has been an honor to work alongside them and as well as other members of our clinic. Their stories have taught us greater depths of compassion, courage, and what justice really looks like. Thank you.
All right, and thank you. And you know, it's funny because obviously this is my clinic, and I'm so proud of what you all did on with Ms. Elizondo. I had nothing to do with it. In fact, I found out the full scope of it when the Attorney General Keith Ellison called me and said, "Hey, I heard what your students are doing," and I couldn't have been more proud. So, thank you. And now we're going to turn to Living the Mission Awards. This award is given to one student from each class and also to alumni and staff. And winners exemplify the mission based on their activities in or outside of the classroom. For our 1L award winner, we have presenter Jeffrey Highcamp is going to do the introduction.
Yeah, I'm really happy to present this award to Kevin Green. Kevin shows a passion for law and justice in the classroom. I want to say sorry to any 1L professor who thinks you personally inspired Kevin. He's like that in every single class. It wasn't just you. He pushes back tirelessly on my cheap political and social opinions in study group. Kevin also shows vulnerability. He shares his experience in the military, family, his experience as a Black man, his experience in work generously and vulnerably in class, and it enriches our experience. Kevin is also exceptionally kind. We've watched him parent while going to class over Zoom and be very kind to his own children. He serves and leads in more law student groups than I knew existed. He's in student government, mentor, externship advisor, Phi Alpha Delta, like 6 law clerks. I have no idea how Kevin does everything. And I remember the day when I didn't know how to get an app on my phone so that he could keep me informed about student government activities. He grabbed my phone, spent 5 minutes messing with it, and made sure I was connected as a very old man who didn't know how to use the app. So Kevin, 1L wouldn't be the same without you, and we're just really glad for your presence.
Boy, all that and your IT guy. Kevin?
I'm extremely honored and humbled and appreciate the time that the committee went through the applications and made their selections. I carry this as a representative of A1, aka steak sauce. We're the sauce. Because there are so many powerful, moving, and wonderful people that make up A1. And I'm just happy, and I share this award with them, and I'm inspired, humbled, and happy to be a part of this class. Thank you.
Well, thank you, and congratulations. Presenting the award for our second-year student is Carrie Conboy.
During a period of unprecedented economic despair, one factor that a lot of us don't consider is that a number of our immigrant neighbors and essential workers have been excluded from stimulus relief. And as community organizations consider creative ways to support the most vulnerable, Chris Hines is actively working to make sure that no one gets left behind. As a student attorney in the Community Justice Project, Chris has spent well over 100 hours over the past year partnering with a local church on an eviction initiative called 1+1+1. Under the program, the tenant pays 1/3 of the rent arrears. They negotiate with the landlord to forgive 1/3, and the church pays the remaining 1/3. What makes Chris Hines's vital contributions to this initiative so distinct is that he didn't come into a hurting community to save it. Chris leverages his legal toolkit to advance what the community itself has initiated and assist where he is most needed. Through his diligent and tireless efforts, Chris is living out principles of solidarity, subsidiarity, and commitment to the dignity of each person. As a law student, Chris is applying his legal training to keep vulnerable families housed. He's jumped through the onerous hoops of getting research approval and collaborated with colleagues in the School of Social Work to evaluate the program's effectiveness. And when I met with Chris at the end of last summer to wind down before break, Chris was accelerating his efforts to meet project deadlines, driven by his commitment to offer his skills to meet a critical need. While his peers were studying for finals, Chris was stepping up to keep the project going on his own time. In addition to his work with CJP, Chris also defends Hennepin County residents as an extern with the Public Defender's Office and is the president of the Environmental Law Society. He was also an active and vocal participant in the St. Thomas Collaborative to End Police Brutality last summer and consistently shows up as an ally. He goes above and beyond in all aspects of his work inside the clinic and out. And on a personal note, as a fellow member of the St. Thomas community, I've been very transformed by the conversations that Chris and I have had both in and outside the classroom. Chris challenges me to leverage self-reflection as a means of awareness of my own privilege, while also drawing upon my own experiences of suffering and exclusion to experience greater empathy. Chris is a rock star, and I'm so excited to honor him with you today.
Wow, well, thank you. Chris.
Oh yeah, thank you so much, Carrie, for those words, and yeah, thanks to all the nomination committee. Yeah, I mean the mission is so much greater than myself, and just wouldn't be possible without all the smart, kind, and inspiring people here at St. Thomas. So, thanks so much for your support.
All right, and congratulations. Moving along to the third year award, we'd like to thank the law firm of Fafinski, Mark, and Johnson for their sponsorship of this award. And our presenter will be Michael Roback.
Thank you, Mark. It is my honor, my privilege, to introduce the Living Mission, the Mission 3L Award winner, Sarah Williams. Sarah actually received multiple nominations in more than one category, as well as her own nomination to let the committee know of her dedication to the School of Law mission. And to put it plainly, the committee was beyond impressed. You see, most law students are content to simply get through law school, graduate, pass the bar, and then get their career underway. There are also those law students who, besides following that basic trajectory, also find time to join maybe one or two student organizations, perhaps participate in some extracurricular events, begin to develop a network, and dip their toe into participating in the community. There are even some law students who will add to this larger trajectory, perhaps an instance or two of organizational or community leadership. And then there's Sarah, on a trajectory like a few others. And she began her law school career in a way that would have defeated many others. Over the course of her 1L year, she underwent 2 surgeries, 4 rounds of chemotherapy, and 2 months of radiation, while maintaining all of her grades in good standing and retaining her Dean's Scholarship. Furthermore, during her first summer break of law school, she completed the radiation treatment while working as a law clerk for the Ramsey County Attorney's Office. But Sarah wouldn't let a little thing like recovering from cancer keep her from participating in organizations and events and giving back to her peers in the local community. During her 2L year, she became a student member of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee at St. Thomas. She also became the Student Government Diversity and Inclusion Liaison, and she invested significant energy towards improving diversity and inclusion efforts in the law school. And while that would have been more than enough for most students, she also joined the LLM Peer Mentor Program and served as a vice president of the Black Law Student Association, the 2L representative for the Family Law Society, and was a member of the American Constitutional Society. During her 2L summer, she took part in the Community Justice Project Clinic, collaborative to end police brutality. And during her 3L year, she has participated in the Community Justice Clinic as an advanced student. As Tori Keyes noted in her nomination, as a law student practitioner, Sarah is a consistent and dependable team member. She often steps up as team leader as team leader role in projects, and has brought to CJP the opportunity to partner with a local law firm on a project related to constitutional right to education in Minnesota, and continually leads group meetings. Her work is consistently well done, on time, and thoughtfully constructed. She has a strong voice and uses it to advocate on behalf of her social justice issues. She thinks out of the box to leverage her network and make meaningful connections that help advance her team's goals. And during her 3L year, she also moderated a panel during the Journal Fall Symposium on Protest and Reform, how lawmakers in the legal community are responding to the killing of George Floyd, as well as co-hosting the Chauvin Trial weekly check-in meetings. As Henry Bishop wrote in his nomination, I hold a tremendous amount of respect for Sarah's commitment to her own education, combined with leadership roles she has additionally undertaken. The more we have talked and gotten to know each other on a personal level, I see these commitments carry forth in all the ways Sarah engages with life. And finally, she has spent 2 years working as a law library RA. And so this I know personally. She is courageous. I do this every year. Courageous and kind, relentlessly upbeat and optimistic, always smiling, always concerned for how others are feeling, always there to be helpful. Her engagement and her work, her life really is a consistent and conscious communication and mission. Sarah is truly an exceptional person and well deserving of the award.
Sarah, congratulations.
Thank you, Professor Roback. I don't like to cry, but thank you to the Mission Award Committee. In my 1L year, I thought my biggest obstacle would be overcoming cancer. But then the next challenge was passing my lawyering skills with Professor Bradford. And that brief actually landed me my job, so thank you. And in reality, surviving a class taught by the dean was the biggest accomplishment. I am honored and humbled, and thank you for becoming more than a school, but becoming a family. Thank you.
Well, congratulations and well deserved. And for our alumni, we have an award for living the mission, and our introducer will be Gloria Meyer.
Hi, thank you so much. I'm thrilled to present the 2021 Alumni Living the Mission Award to Kristin Giant from the class of 2014. In 2020, Kristin launched Hyperlocal Impact, a legal and consulting firm dedicated to helping the people of Fort Wayne, Indiana, to strategically invest in their community with a goal of building a more inclusive economy. Kristin also began partnering with Ty Simmons of the Family and Friends Fund for Southeast Fort Wayne. Together, they set an incredible goal of raising $1 million for a grassroots funding program to distribute power and financial resources to local BIPOC-led businesses and nonprofits in Southeast Fort Wayne, the most underinvested quadrant of their city. Funds raised by the Family and Friends Fund generate economic opportunities to build generational wealth and connectivity. By March of this year, the fund had already raised more than $500,000 and allocated 15 grants. From bake sales to online telethons and so much more, Kristin works creatively and tirelessly to lift up her community. She's an inspiring advocate for positive change who is always trying to better herself and those around her. Kristin, it's my absolute pleasure to present you with this award.
Thank you. Kristin.
Thank you, Gloria. The first thing I want to say is you guys have a real gem in Gloria. I've never met her in person, and her job is alumni engagement. And this year, when I felt completely alone, Gloria was with me constantly and tirelessly. So great job, keep her, give her a raise. The second thing I'll say is that in law school, we were taught that your words and the law can be a sword or a shield. And I want to remind any law students listening, any other alumni, especially white alumni, that your words can also be a raised fist in solidarity with Black lives, in opposition to white supremacy, and in repudiation to the hoarding of power and wealth that is so intertwined with white culture. So I am who I am because I went to St. Thomas. I'm incredibly honored to win this award. I was not an award winner in law school academically. I wasn't in any of the clubs. So if you're also watching this feeling kind of like a screw up, there's hope for you too. Thank you guys.
Well, thank you and congratulations, Kristin. For the staff award for living the mission, our introducers will be Tori Key and Carrie Comboy.
It is my honor to present Amy Bystrom with the Staff Living the Mission Award. Amy is the program manager in the Interprofessional Center for Counseling and Legal Services. I knew Amy when I was a student in the clinic, and I have had the privilege to get to know her even more as a colleague over the last year. Amy is exceptionally resourceful and a prepared leader within our office. She often leads team meetings, keeps our office resources organized, answers questions at the drop of a hat, and quickly jumps to work to find resources and answers to questions that she is unsure of. Amy also makes a consistent and exceptional effort to promote an environment of engagement that is free from bias and discrimination, where all individuals are valued and celebrated. Amy consistently displays signs and artwork outside of her office door that engages passerby in conversations in support of social justice issues that are faced by underheard communities and creates an open space for critical thinking. She is extremely engaged in groups that combat white supremacy, racism, and bias, and she prioritizes attendance at anti-racism and LGBTQIA+ allied groups, and calls upon her colleagues to practice methods and identify racist behavior and actions, and to equip ourselves with the tools to respond effectively and hold ourselves accountable. She has participated in community organizing at George Floyd Square and has shared her experiences with colleagues to ensure that the community trauma is recognized and experiences of those who have suffered oppression, violence, and death in the midst of racial tension are remembered.
We could keep going on about Amy all day, but a couple of things I'll add is Amy's a very skilled immigration paralegal, and it has been we've experienced unprecedented attacks against immigrants and asylum seekers over the last 4 years, and Amy has really stepped up and done incredible advocacy on behalf of some of the most vulnerable members of our community. Amy is also not afraid to have really difficult conversations all the time. So you want to become a better ally, you want to become an anti-racist, just hang out with Amy, and she really calls everyone around her on to be better to one another. So I'm very excited to celebrate Amy with you today.
Thank you. Amy, congratulations.
Thanks so much to the Missions Nomination Committee. As you all know, so many people in the law school community have been working hard to further social justice initiatives. So I'm not sure how I ended up with being awarded this honor. And I just want to let you know I'm lifted up by and very humbled to receive this award. So thank you.
Well, congratulations and well deserved. And now I'm going to turn it over to our Dean, Rob Vischer, who has a few awards to address now.
Thank you, Mark. So the Dean's Awards are decided in conversation among me and Professor Oside, Director of Lawyering Skills, and Professor Wiebe, the Director of our clinics. And with the exception of one award, as will become obvious in a moment that we went behind his back, our Associate Dean, Joel Nichols. So this year, the Dean's Award for Outstanding Scholarship goes to Professor Rachel Moran. Professor Moran's research on policing has contributed important data to a long overdue debate about transparency and accountability for police misconduct. By speaking in a variety of fora and news outlets, she has made her research broadly accessible. In the past year alone, in addition to directing her clinic and all the teaching, advocacy, and public service work she has been doing, she has placed path-breaking articles with the Cardozo Law Review and the Boston College Law Review. Professor Moran is exemplifying why our scholarly culture is so important, why it is so important to connect students with faculty research. Legal scholarship deepens our understanding of the world and illuminates the paths by which we can improve it. Congratulations, Professor Moran.
Thanks, Dean Vischer. It's kind of humbling to get an award at near the end of this event because I'm mostly just impressed by everyone else. But I just want to echo something John Trost said earlier. It's bittersweet when my scholarship gets more recognition because it's about police accountability, and it tends to get that recognition after some highly publicized incident of misconduct. So, you know, predominantly white majority in this country has long been not terribly concerned about police accountability. I just want to encourage us to be proactive rather than reactive. Long beyond the conviction of Derek Chauvin, although that's important, we have far bigger issues to think about in the world of policing. And I think entirely consistent with St. Thomas's mission, we can search for truth rather than just headlines. We can search for facts, and we can reason, and we can find ways to make our world a safer and better place. So thank you.
Thank you, and congratulations. Now the Dean's Award for Outstanding Teaching. The first one, Professor Wiebe and Professor Oside and I went around his back and decided this outside his presence, but the first award for Outstanding Teaching goes to Joel Nichols. The past 3 semesters have been incredibly challenging for everyone. The logistical challenges are immense. Ensuring that every full-time and adjunct faculty member is equipped and ready to meet those logistical challenges is not easy. Building a schedule for the multiple course sections required by social distancing is not easy. Finding adjuncts who want to teach in the middle of a pandemic is not easy. Troubleshooting takes a huge amount of time in a normal semester. During a pandemic, troubleshooting all the problems that arise on the academic operations side of our law school could be its own full-time job. Many people have worked hard to make sure we can deliver a high quality legal education no matter what obstacles COVID throws in our way. One person has led the effort to make it happen. On top of all that, he's done a great job teaching his own courses. It's my pleasure to present a Dean's Award for Outstanding Teaching to our Associate Dean for Academic Affairs, Joel Nichols.
Thank you very much. I'm really honored by this, and I was surprised by it as well, both for myself and also because part of the joy of this is that we have so many excellent teachers at St. Thomas, full-time faculty and adjunct faculty. And even in what Dean Vischer is describing, this has really been very collaborative and a team effort over the last several semesters. And so I'd like to shout out again to the technology team who got the Excellence in Professional Preparation Award, and all the staff in particular who assisted in various ways there, and students who did, to all the faculty, both full-time and adjuncts, for excellent efforts, and to the students who have been resilient, generous, and receptive across the board over the past year. This is really a great place, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Great. Thank you and congratulations. Our second Dean's Award for Outstanding Teaching goes to Elizabeth Holmes. For the last 8 years, Elizabeth Holmes has taught a small number of our students every year in an intensive way by leading our Immigration Appellate Clinic. About 4 students each year have the opportunity to work alongside her as they embark on a 2-semester experience to brief and argue appellate cases on behalf of immigrants. Students not only gain invaluable legal skills, but they learn better how to work with clients, how to work on a team of attorneys, and how to think through the challenging non-legal issues that arise in the lives of clients. Professor Holmes skillfully guides the students to grow their skills and their compassion and move into their roles as lawyers, not just students. A faculty reviewer of her class stated that on a scale of 1 to 10, the class was at least a 9.5, probably a 10. It was a great experience, combining expertise, learning, self-learning by students, and meaningful legal service to clients. Student comments have been equally glowing. One student wrote that the clinic was, quote, a fantastic course that really allows one to work in the real field of immigration. Elizabeth Holmes is a great instructor. Another wrote that, quote, I could not have enjoyed this course any more. Professor Holmes did a great job of both teaching the elements of immigration law, both how it works practically and in the real world. It is my honor to present Elizabeth Holmes with a Dean's Award for Outstanding Teaching.
Oh, well, thank you very much. I'm very grateful for this award, in part because I also see it as a recognition of the clinics of the law school and what an important role they play at the law school community. As I'm also a practitioner, obviously, and seeing students that come to us for law clerk positions, as well as in attorney positions as well, to see that they have worked through a clinic as well is very important to see that as a practitioner. The students I've been able to work with over the years have simply been excellent advocates. They're critical thinkers, but most important is that through the clinics, not just mine, but all of the clinics, students are able to see the humanity behind the law that they're learning and applying. So really, thank you. I am just grateful to be a part of this community. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks very much for your service. Our final Dean's Award for Outstanding Teaching goes to Mark Bradford. Professor Bradford is an engaging, intelligent, expert teacher. He has taught Lawyering Skills 3 for us for several years, often in both the fall and spring semesters. It's a luxury for us that he responds with an enthusiastic yes every time we ask him to teach for us again. Students in his class have multiple opportunities to practice their legal research, writing, and oral skills. His students learn great lessons about how to talk with a client in any situation, not just in decisions related to the appellate process. He seamlessly weaves professionalism standards into his classes. He shines when he pulls the correct part from each student's contribution without leaving another student wondering about the right answers. Here are a few comments from his former students. I don't usually enjoy writing classes, but I found this class consistently enjoyable. He was awesome, very professional and attentive. Professor Bradford is an exceptional instructor. I appreciate his candor and his pragmatic approach to legal writing. He encourages students to be creative and demands quality work. I've learned more in his course about effective communication than in any other course. I would enroll in any class he offered. It is my honor to present Professor Mark Bradford with this Dean's Award for Outstanding Teaching.
Thanks, Dean Vischer. I really appreciate it, and I'm humbled by it. One of the cardinal rules that I try to teach my students is not to exaggerate. So clearly I need to do a better job with that. But this is a terrific honor and one that I'm really proud of. I get to work with some tremendous students, including Sarah Williams, who received an award earlier today. I was able to teach her last year, and that was really my pleasure. So I look forward to doing it for many more years to come, and I appreciate both you and the committee. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mark. Before I turn it back over to Professor Osler, I want to just say a word about two other members of our adjunct faculty who are stepping away from teaching after years of tireless investment in the professional growth of our students. And we owe them a lot. So I want to make sure that we acknowledge their role in the law school over the past years. The first is Kay Hunt, an appellant lawyer at Loma Abdo, who has taught Lawyering Skills 3 for us for many years. One of the most experienced appellate lawyers in Minnesota, students often comment on the practical wisdom she brings to the subject and the awesome stories she shares about the many, many oral arguments she's made in appellate courts across the Midwest. One student commented, quote, "Wonderful professor. I felt like we had a great example of an appellate lawyer who did a great job teaching a course. Best adjunct ever." Another said, "Professor Hunt does a great job at teaching strategic points of appellate law and how to manage yourself in court, how to write your briefs, and how to be great at the appellate level." Thank you, Professor Hunt, for sharing your wisdom and expertise with our students over these past years. And the second is Judge Frank McGill, who has taught evidence for us every year since 2011. A few quotes from his students. "Judge McGill does a fantastic job with this course. He very clearly explains the material and takes the time to cover more in depth when necessary. I love his humor and personal stories." Or, "High energy and easy to learn from. Judge McGill is great energy. Excellent professor, A+. Mind you, all of these comments were from this fall during the pandemic in a hybrid format. That's tough to do, and he poured himself totally into doing it well. So thank you, Judge McGill, for investing so tirelessly in our students. We are a community of teachers, and you have been shining examples of that commitment. Now I'll turn it back over to Professor Osler.
Well, thank you so much, Dean Vischer, and for everything you do in leading us. I'd like to thank the members of the committee, Colleen Dorsey, Angela Dizek, Trevor Peters, Adam Ajulu, and especially Michael Roback, who did incredible work making this all happen. We've spent so much of the last year being moved by things that have gone wrong, by tragedies. And to have this hour to be moved by what's best among us is a wonderful thing. We have high hopes that next year we won't be online. We'll be down in the atrium. There will be handshakes, there will be hugs, there will be food. But hopefully these stories and the spirit of this place that have animated what we've heard today will be the same. And we have that to look forward to. Thank you all for being a part of this, and we'll see you next year.